Okay, hi everyone. Namo Myoho Rengekyo. Thank you for being here. Today, we're going to talk about the gift of rice. Some of you have been waiting for this discussion for a while. It's somehow a contentious subject amongst Buddhist practitioners, depending on your origin story and which group or sect or how you found out about Buddhism, particularly Nichiren's doctrine of the Lotus Sutra. Some would say Nichiren's Buddhism, which I would correct. I know that's used a lot, but Nichiren was a bodhisattva, and his teachings all were related to identifying the Lotus Sutra as primary, not primary, but the ultimate, the culminating teachings of Shakyamuni's method for all sentient beings to invoke and to experience their Buddha or the Buddha, a life condition of clarity without the foibles and sufferings of the attachments we naturally make constantly, moment to moment, in our human manifestation, our human mind, if you will. We're going to talk about the two characters, Na and Mu. And the way this is translated, I'm going to leave it largely the way it is because I don't want to mess with the translation too much, because it would take a tremendous amount of research to really identify what Nichiren was actually what he wrote, and I don't know kanji that well. I know a lot of what Nichiren wrote was not only kanji but stylized, and stylized forms of even as we witness in this mandala. There are Sanskrit characters, there are Chinese characters, there are characterizations of characters, in other words, stylistic components of characters, which, because these ancient languages were not only, like when we speak English, we think in terms of very definite and singular meanings of things. But you have to realize that Sanskrit was really much more of a vocalization technique. And so how a word was said, how it was inflected, and if you read or try to read any phonetic translations of ancient scripts, or just look at old names of things in translations of Sanskrit, there can be 30, 40, 50 character long words that they're all concatenations of ideas in order to put forth a subtlety of an idea, a concept of an idea. So it's more like a song with lyrics that indicate a meaning. Unlike English, which is the minutiae of definitions, and even so, we have a lot of trouble defining what it is we're saying, right? So Namu has its origins, of course, in India, and maybe more as relates to Nichiren, Chinese translations of Indian concepts. But I think, and this translation, I think, makes this error, as treating Namu as one word, which I will tell you from all the research I have done. There are origins of these sounds and words, characters really, symbols of ideas, that go back to cuneiform Egyptian lettering, ancient Indian concepts, ancient Hindu concepts, ancient just every every nook and cranny of these two characters, Na and Mu, have a general sense about them, and they're implied in different languages as you move through Asia to mean subtly different things in English. But I think that's largely because in English we tend to hyper define everything. But if you back off a little bit, you come to see that there's roots in each of these conceptual sounds and characters that are unmistakable. The na part in every culture being some form of dedication, resolve, belonging to, or just awe of, or inspired by, or given to. So there's this act of not exactly a surrendering of sorts, a surrendering of what always blocks us in samsara is identity, of self, of ego. In na, there's a sense, a concept of let go of predefined ideas and open yourself to and embracing of something unfamiliar, undefined, defined as self. Do you see where we're going here with this concept, this idea? Na, it's an opening. And on its own, na doesn't mean a whole lot. Other than that, surrender to. And then mu comes right behind it, which is more about vision, the eye, the new knowing, the new experience, the ultimate knowledge. So in order to see the ultimate knowledge, one first has to let go of the old vision that is blocking the way. So na, we strip away what we think we are, and mu, we accept and flow into this new awesome vision, this. And in the context of Buddhism, na mu comes ahead of every important personage in the teachings of Buddhism. You don't name Shakyamuni, you Namu Shakyamuni. You Namu Amida, which is where you hear it most in China. But Amida, as you know, is not an actual person. It's a way of experiencing. Right? All of these characters, these bodhisattvas, even when we hear Nichiren talking about these different characters, how he himself may be the embodiment of bodhisattva superior practices. He doesn't claim to be an incarnation. He's not a manifest body and mind of a concept. That concept, bodhisattva superior practices, not a person, is a mental concept of a certain way of understanding and being that Nichiren takes as his template for being the votary of the Lotus Sutra. Do you see how these languages work conceptually? They're not actual things. Like in English, everything is a thing. In a way, English is the most Samsaric language, right? Because it's all about thingness. Even when we talk about concepts in English, we litter them with little bits of things. So na, mu are not specific things. They're, and here we go with English, they're emotive, they're mental constructs, they're ways of thinking and being. You see, for these little words, na and mu, they're actually very big concepts, right? Like, how many ways can you say "oh" in English and carry with it surprise, awe, fear? Oh, oh, oh. Hey, do you see where I'm getting? So if you research na and mu, first of all, separately, because they're separate characters, in Japan, in Korea, in China, in India, all of these are separate thoughts, separate ideas. To smush them together is obviously a violation of what that language is trying to communicate. That makes no sense. That is a device of modern organizations to, I don't know, create their own language, their own claim to know better than everyone else. I mean, it is what it is. Even on this mandala, we see the two separate characters, na, mu. And we see them repeated over the names of every personification on this mandala. Na, mu, many treasures Buddha. Na, mu, Bodhisattva superior practices. Na, mu. Right? So what is this na, mu? Why is it important to say na, mu? Because the na is an opening of the mind, and the mu is the acceptance of a clarity not before experienced. Mu is definitely the commitment to Buddha, to that state of mind, that condition of life that sees without distinctions. Certainly not what we're accustomed to pre-na. Na is, I'm going to try to let go of all my definitions and distinctions to make room for mu, this new I, this new vision. Do you see it's a two-step thing? Na-mu. So now you can translate that in many, many different ways, but then the words get in the way. Is it a dedication to Buddha? Well, not specifically, but yes, in the context of the Daimoku, that's certainly what it is. Do you see how when you first start practicing, you want to translate everything so you can understand it, but real understanding only comes with study, because only with study do you begin to open your mind from the distinctions that you're accustomed to revealing a much broader, much more experiential meaning to these characters. And this is true of every character in the Daimoku, right? It's not just Myo. As we've read several times, Nichiren refers to this character in different similes and analogies to experience this formation experience that Myo represents. Not the instantiation, Ho, but the formation. Where does the thought come from? Who thinks? What thinks? Now you start to combine this stuff, right? Na, I'm letting go of preconceptions, which are all attachments. Mu, giving myself to the ultimate clarity of Myo. Where does this energy come from? Where does this formation come from? Ho, as it manifests from that, that's a whole different idea than that's a table, that's a chair. It's the process of myo and ho. And how does that process occur? Renge. As the process manifests, it so acts. It acts at the same time as it manifests. Oh, that's how everything works. Kyo, you've just learned it. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo is all about a blossoming of the mind, opening to the realization that everything just occurs moment to moment like little photons of light, a mist of instantiations and decay. Everything momentary, glorious in its instantiation for that moment as it goes away. This is the formula of life. Namu, I get it. Myoho Renge Kyo. That is the Buddha mindset. So, with that in mind, as I'm tingling in my own ideas, and I chanted a lot before this, so I apologize if I seem a little foreign. Let's get into this this little letter, this fragment of a letter, the gift of rice. I have received the sack of polished rice, the sack of yams and the basket of river laver that you took the trouble to send me by messenger. Human beings have two kinds of treasure. One is clothing and the other is food. A sutra states, quote, sentient beings live in dependence on food, end quote. I don't think anyone would argue with that. This passage means that living beings dwell in this world owing to food and clothing. Fish dwell in water and regard water as their treasure. Trees grow on earth and regard the earth as their treasure. Human beings have life owing to food and regard food as their treasure. Okay. Life is the foremost of all treasures. Bingo. How do you define life? Right? By the previous paragraph, we define life as that which is owing to food. Being English speaking, we could say, oh yeah, we are owing to oxygen. We're owing to our relationship and our self-perception, and then we go down that distinguishing road that is samsara, and we're so excellent at defining every minutia of what things are. But this is not what Nichiren is talking about. He's talking about life, the Myoho Renge, and our surrender to the knowing, the experience of that flow of instantiation from formation, from idea to formation, to instantiation, to decay. That process that is life, the life of everything. Every blade of grass, every grain of sand, every planetary system, every universe, every human, every tree, every insect, all occurs through this idea formation, a formation that isn't thing, but it is an energy toward manifesting and then going away. That is the life Nichiren is talking about. Life is the foremost of all treasures. Why would that be? Because only with life can you and I exist for moments, moment to moment, to what? Perceive what? This life. Everything else is just incidental. It precipitates from life, owing to. You follow? It is expounded that even the treasures of the entire major world system cannot equal the value of one's body and life. Even the treasures that fill the major world system are no substitute for life. Why is that? Because everything that is experienceable or non-experienceable, everything is subsequent to this process. Life is preeminent. It's so huge we can't perceive it. But through letting go of our perceptions as much as we can and opening ourselves to Myoho Renge Kyo, the process of life, we can begin to experience something completely other, unattached. That is what we do when we use this mandala that Nichiren provided us as a mirror for that knowingness. When we chant without ideas, without predestinations that we give ourselves, I want to do this, I want to change that, that's fine. Use that energy to get in front of your mandala and chant. But the moment you start to invoke Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, now you're looking for something completely other. You say you are. Understand that when you say na, you are saying, forget all that. Forget the new boyfriend, the new girlfriend, the better situation for my granddaughter, the better car, the better job. Forget all that. What's driving all of this? What's driving the formations of all of this as it exists? Well, I want to let that go because I want something, some new perception. Mu. Namu. Mu being that new I, that new way of understanding. Let me see with clarity that isn't attached to all of these predispositions. And now, with that new clarity, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, let me watch the process. Let me see the logic. So that at the end, we can say, oh, life is like a lamp and food is like oil. When the oil is exhausted, the lamp goes out, and without food, life will cease. These are all analogies to understand our practice. In worshiping, which I would say is really in taking confidence in, all the deities and Buddhas, the personifications of these thoughts, the word Na-Mu is put ahead of their names because we are opening our minds to a new understanding through the language of these personages, these mental exercises. To explain exactly what Namu means, Namu is a word from India. In China and Japan, it is translated as dedicating one's life. But you see how those English words, which is again a translation, you can say, okay, I get where that translation comes from, but that translation kind of falls short, doesn't it? It limits the grandiose ideas of Na and Mu. Oh yeah, it just means I dedicated my life to something. But in dedication, there are two very important ideas. Again, this translation, that seems to lean toward a certain kind of translation that minimizes na and mu. Don't you think? Certainly it's a dedication, but it's more, a dedication is like something you write on a what do you call those stones on graves? A headstone, right? Or a plaque. That's a dedication. But that's not what Namu means. Namu is more of an embracing of something utterly new. That's very different than just a dedication. Okay, it says one's life. Okay, that's kind of big. But no, it is a moment-to-moment reinvestigation, a letting go and accepting and embracing of a new way of seeing our Buddha mind. It's right there. Dedicating one's life means to offer one's life to the Buddha. Okay, we're dancing around words here, but certainly in the context of Buddhism and the Daimoku specifically, Namu is about what are you embracing as you let go of your didactic, identifying, obsessed samsaric mind so that you can embrace some new I. That new I is Buddha. It's right there in those two characters. They're very significant. We can't just toss them aside as some preface to something important. They are very much a part of Myoho Renge Kyo. In accordance with their status, some have wives and children, relatives, fiefs, and gold and silver, while others have no treasure. Whether one has wealth or not, no treasure exceeds the one called life. This is why those known as the sages and worthies of ancient times offered their lives to the Buddha and then became Buddhas. So this is kind of a sloppy way of saying all these replacements we have for value in our lives. Take food, for instance. If you have large storages of food, then you are wealthy in some way. But without recognition of Buddha, the new I, the new mental life condition of understanding this precious singular commodity that is the process of life, what good does 10,000 hamburgers do? What good does 10,000 bars of gold that can buy 2 million hamburgers do? That's just stuff. That is the dust at the end of Myoho Renge Kyo. Do you see? The boy Snow Mountains offered his body to a demon to receive a teaching composed of 8 characters. Bodhisattva Medicine King burned his arms as an offering to the Lotus Sutra. In our own country, too, Prince Shotoku peeled off the skin of his hand and copied the Lotus Sutra on it. And the sovereign known as Emperor Tenji burned his 3rd finger as an offering to Shakyamuni Buddha. Because these things are the affairs of worthies and sages, they are impossible for us to do. Why? Because these are examples of people, letting go of thingness, and opening their minds to a new insight, a new way of understanding, a new mind, the Buddha mind. Do you see how important these 2 characters are? However, as for the matter of becoming a Buddha, ordinary people keep in mind the words earnest resolve. Here we go again. How often has Nichiren told us the most important thing in our practice of Daimoku, pursuing that Buddha I, is our determination, our single-minded devotion to instantiating that Buddha mind, right? Your conviction. Isn't that true of anything? Until you truly give yourself over to something, you don't experience it. Learning a language, learning mathematics, learning any job, learning how to read, learning how to skateboard. You name any endeavor in human history that didn't require a conviction to accomplish. And this is all Nichiren is saying. If you want to instantiate your Buddha mind, then stop thinking about all the other crap. Nah. Let all of it go and put all of your energy to move, to instantiate this clear Buddha mind. Everything else works out. From that standpoint, from that mental condition, everything else is just a simple matter of instantiation and decay. When we carefully consider what exactly earnest resolve refers to, it is the doctrine of observing the mind. Bingo! When we inquire into what exactly the doctrine of observing the mind refers to, it means that offering one's only robe to the Lotus Sutra is equivalent to peeling off one's skin. And that in a time of famine, offering the food that is the only means for sustaining one's life that day to the Buddha is offering one's life to the Buddha. This is all about Na and Mu. The rewards from this are in no way inferior to those Bodhisattva Medicine King gained by burning his arms, right? Those are just metaphoric examples of letting go. Or the boy Snow Mountains gained by offering his body to a demon. A mental exercise of all of the pleasures of the body being insignificant to the life condition of understanding how all of this forms and exists in life. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. All of it. Thus, what is appropriate for sages is offering in actuality offering one's life itself for the law, Myoho Renge Kyo. What is appropriate for ordinary people is offering in principle, sincerely offering what is most important to one's own life. This is the teaching called the paramita of almsgiving, for the observation of the mind that is set forth in the 7th volume of Great Concentration and Insight. In reality, all of this dialogue that Nichiren is giving us, however it's translated, is defining Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Whatever it is, that you're motivated to have and emotionally attached to in this life, must do, must have, get it out of the way and reopen your mind to how all of that energy is manifest in the first place, O Myoho Renge Kyo, and understand the process, your reward, your gift, your ascension will so dwarf what originally drove you to chant this Daimoku in the first place, will take its proper place in the vision of this entirety of what it is you call life. The true path lies in the affairs of this world. The Golden Light Sutra states, quote, "To have a profound knowledge of this world is itself Buddhism." He's restating the obvious, that in samsara, to have a truly profound understanding of the formations and instantiations and decay of all the things of life, this world, which is our experience of this life, is itself Buddha mind. The Nirvana Sutra states, quote, "All of the non-Buddhist scriptures and writings in the society are themselves Buddhist teachings, not non-Buddhist teachings." And here we have the interesting all-inclusiveness of Shakyamuni Buddha when he told us to study all of Buddhist scholarship and non-Buddhist scholarship, because he understood, and Nichiren is restating it, although it's a quote from the Nirvana Sutra, which are Shakyamuni's words, that all teachings, when you go to school and you struggle with math, or maybe you like math, I did, it's no less a struggle, we just enjoy the struggle, right? As opposed to not liking the struggle. But name anything you've learned in your life. Sewing, driving a car, anything you've learned in life is a form of teaching. Teaching the self how to experience something new. Right? If I want to understand the written language and how to compose a letter, I have to decide to look for a new way of seeing letters, words, grammar, paragraphs, and I will use somebody as a guide, whether it's a book, a person, a teacher, right? And I will, through my own effort, open a new eye of understanding of this, so that I can expand my experience of my world, my life. This is what we do. But with Buddhism, we open an understanding that transcends all of that, that goes far beyond it, and yet is the formation of it in the first place. Buddhism is seen very circular this way. When the great teacher Miao Lo compared these passages with one from the 6th volume of the Lotus Sutra that reads, quote, "No worldly affairs of life or work are ever contrary to the true reality," end quote, he revealed their meaning and pointed out that although the first two sutras are profound, since their meaning is still shallow and fails to approach that of the Lotus Sutra, they relate secular matters in terms of Buddhism, whereas the Lotus Sutra explains that in the end, secular matters are the entirety of Buddhism. That's a very powerful thought and very easy to misunderstand. But as I was just explaining, that the very things that we struggle with in our human life are themselves the proof of the life as it proceeds, instantiating from formations that are our own and manifestations that are our own, that we experience in our life. Karma, causation, effect. We're living Myoho Renge Kyo all the time. Why? Because the very nature of life is that. And once you get that, then you see it, and you don't begrudge it anymore. You simply become an observer, ergo, you release suffering about it, your preoccupations with whether it ought to be or not be. That isn't the issue. The issue is, wow, look at how it is. If I want to influence it in a different manner, I can. Because it all instantiates as a result of formations. Formations that I myself am an instantiation of. In knowing that and observing that, I can give more or less energy to it. I can control the way my life proceeds. I can't do anything about the past. The past doesn't exist anymore. What exists is my influence on this moment, and as it carries its influence into the next. The essence of the sutras preached before the Lotus Sutra is that all phenomena arise from the mind. Oh my God. He's pounding this. It's impossible to miss it if you're open to it. Otherwise, this all seems like gobbledygook. The Lotus Sutra is that all phenomena arise from the mind. To illustrate, they say that the mind is like the great earth, while the grasses and trees are all like phenomena. But it is not so with the Lotus Sutra. It teaches that the mind itself is the great earth, and that the great earth itself is the grasses and trees. The meaning of the earlier sutras is that clarity of the mind is like the moon, and that purity of the mind is like a flower. But it is not so with the Lotus Sutra. It is the teaching that the moon itself is mind, and the flower itself is mind. You should realize from this that polished rice is not polished rice. It is life itself. This is a short letter that we would do well to read repeatedly. Maybe once a day, once a month, make a commitment to reread this and really, really savor the meaning of this. And it's no accident that the only reference he made in this whole letter to the Daimoku is Namu. Because, my friends, that is the opening door to your mental acuity and clarity, your Buddha mind, your Buddha life condition, your Buddha eye of understanding this entire process of life. Because all of it is only knowable through the mind. This is why you should realize from this that polished rice is not polished rice, but life itself. Not because, polished rice, but because the process demands that it be, your food needs to be there in order to keep your fueled, your samsaric entity to do what? To instantiate this mind. There's no other reason. It's a very powerful, short little letter, and I understand why many of you have been waiting to hear it. I hope I did it justice. I hope that you got something of an insight and inspiration from it. It is a mighty little letter, and a very personal one. This wasn't written to the shogunate or rulers. This was just Nichiren saying, look, thank you for the gift, but understand everything that goes with that offering, what it truly means, is very, very profound. And never again will I separate the words na and mu as though they were one casual little syllable. Never. They are extremely meaningful as characters independent of themselves, and together are an invocation of understanding and clarity of Myoho Renge Kyo, Buddha itself. Okay? Thanks for being here. Thanks for your support. Thanks. I mean, I feel so small in the picture of what appreciation actually is. But nonetheless, your support means everything to this Sangha, to my ability to continue to provide some insight. I hope that it helps your practice and solidify your constant searching for that amazing mind-eye. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hey, thank you for being here. Did you know there's a third way you can help support this channel? And it won't cost you a cent. Yep, if you are not able to be a patron on Patreon or use the PayPal me at .com at Sifu Sylvain, because you don't have the financial fortune to help support this channel right now, you, as I say, always support this channel by watching, but you can also help us grow so that maybe one day we can get over 10,000 subscribers and YouTube will grace us with monetization. It's not a lot, but if you can make sure you're subscribed and share a video like a simple one, just go into the search criteria and type monk and you'll have a video that'll come up that's been up for years about what is a monk. You know, it's called monk, who, how, where, something like that. That might be a great introduction to somebody who doesn't understand what a monk is to begin with. It's a tool. Use this channel as a tool to help you with your bodhisattva practice, and share a video to somebody who you think, oh, I know somebody who'll benefit from watching this. And in that way, you can help us grow. And that's a really good way to help your practice along as well. So, just wanted to drop that in on you, in case that's something that you might find useful. Take care of yourself again, and I'll see you soon. Bye.